Hi, welcome back. I'm Sam. If you're a South African and you're thinking about Australia, then I made this video just for you. I'm filming this video here in Auckland on a rather rainy evening. I recently crossed the Tasman Sea just to go to Australia, just to go and film fresh footage for this video from the perspective of a South African like ourselves. Whether you want to go to Australia to work, or you plan to live there, or you just want to check it out, this video will show you where to go, where not to go, what to do, what not to do. So join me for 15 things South Africans need to know before visiting Australia. 1. Cities. For the purpose of this video, we will be looking at Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. Sydney, now this is your very fast-paced metropolis, double-decker trains, all the major attractions, the Sydney Opera House. If you want the big city life, then go to Sydney. Probably the higher paying salaries are also in Sydney. Melbourne, now this city has a very special look and feel. It's quite old and beautiful. It's very sensitive to people's rights. It's very outspoken. It's very liberal, and it's a very arty place. If you appreciate culture, you will love Melbourne. And then there's Brisbane, or as some call it, Brisvegas. It really comes alive at night. It's warm, full of life, and surely a spectacular place to live. Another way to look at it, so Sydney is Joburg. People who love Joburg, I find that they love Sydney too. Melbourne is Cape Town. People who love Cape Town, they'll love Melbourne. Brisbane is a bit like Pretoria, the vibe, the jacarandas, the people, and the Gold Coast, 80 k's from Brisbane, is a bit like Durban. This lovely, humid, warm weather with high-rise buildings right next to this beautiful coast. So there's a brief introduction to these three cities. We'll talk a bit more about them as we go on. A lot of South Africans like to go to Perth in Australia because it's the closest city to South Africa. If you want to see family all the time, Perth is also a great choice. But for this video, we're focusing on Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. Please like and subscribe to see more cool videos like this one. Number 2, beaches. So in Sydney, if you want to see really beautiful beaches, the famous one would be Bondi Beach. Bondi Beach is full of people surfing, people partying, people working out at the open air gym, and kids at little skate parks. Sydney has many beautiful beaches to explore, but make sure you check out Bondi. Now in Melbourne, the beaches aren't as amazing as in Sydney. If you look at the map of Melbourne, it's like this big bay or estuary or gulf or whatever you want to call it, but it's not like these wild waves crashing against the sea. It's very tranquil. It's a great place to play volleyball with your friends. St Kilda Beach is a good attraction. It's close to a theme park. And Brighton Beach, quite far outside the city, is also quite a popular tourist spot. It's like these weird little wooden houses on the beach. Obviously, people don't live on them. It's just, I don't know, a thing. I don't know if they store stuff in it or what they do. And Brisbane, if you want to see the beach in Brisbane, it's also not as amazing as Sydney's beaches. But there is Shorncliffe Beach. If you want to hop on a train and travel an hour or two out the city, you can see Shorncliffe Beach. But I think the best place to go in Brisbane for that beachy feeling would be Streets Beach in South Bank. It's this man-made artificial beach, but it's a real hit. Everyone loves to hang out there. There's music, there's lifeguards, kids love it, everyone loves it, there's restaurants around. It seems like Streets Beach is where all the vibe is at. Number 3, transport. Now all three cities do have really good transportation systems. Melbourne, in the inner city, you have these trams all over the show. There's even a free zone right in the center of the city where you don't pay for trams at all. Trams are very frequent and efficient. You just need a Myki card to tap everywhere. When we were there, there was like a $10 limit for a whole day. You travel everywhere you want, it won't exceed $10. Not sure if it's still the same. There's also Flinders Station, which is very, very old. It's got these really, really old clocks on it that were there for like 100 years or whatever. When the clocks stopped working, they removed it and replaced it with digital clocks, but then the people complained because they liked the old clocks. So they actually put the old clocks back on the wall, but they now operate digitally, which I think is a really nice touch. Now Sydney has one really incredible transportation system. I had never seen double-decker trains before. Tons and tons of ferries are constantly departing the Circular Quay. They don't have trams like Melbourne, but they do have light rail. In Sydney, you will use the Opal card. That's the card you will tap on all the transportation. And in Brisbane, there are lots and lots of trains and buses. In Brisbane, you can actually just tap your bank card or your iPhone. You don't even need one of those fancy cards. When we were there, I remember a 2-hour train ride that cost only 50 cents. And that's a little bit about transport. Number 4, places to go. Sydney. Okay, let's get it out the way. The Sydney Opera House. It really is quite a sight to behold. These massive structures. I was always keen to see what the roof is made out of. Is it metal? Is it glass? What is it? If you go up real close, it's like these ceramic tiles almost. There's also the famous Sydney Harbour Bridge right next to the Sydney Opera House. It is massive. You just stand there, you cannot believe how gigantic this bridge is. The Circular Quay is also a stunning place to visit at night. If you want to propose to your partner here at night, I'm sure you'll get a yes. Places to go in Melbourne, well, you definitely would like to stroll around the Yarra River. The Yarra River has many beautiful attractions alongside it. You can even rent an electric motorboat so you and your partner can cruise down the river. Lots of theatre performances here as well in Melbourne. As I mentioned, it's very arty. Now here's something that I kind of liked. Now just outside the National Gallery of Victoria, there are these like digital birds, these little boxes with digital birds on it. I don't know, I just love it. It's so cool. Look at these things, they're so cute. Digital birds. Why not? I mean, why not? Better than the old school pigeons that leave mess everywhere. Digital birds. Brisbane, places to go. As I mentioned, South Bank is a nice place to hang around. City craft markets where you can buy t-shirts and all sorts of cool stuff. If you're in Brisbane, you might as well travel another 80 kilometers further and get to the Gold Coast. The Gold Coast is beautiful. Make sure you go to Surfers Paradise as well and take a selfie right there by the sea. The weather in Brisbane gets really, really hot. So the hotter it gets, the more you start to see all the creepy crawlies start coming out. Yes, we do know that there are snakes and reptiles, nasty spiders. We were walking around Brisbane and we saw this reptilian thing in the garden. Some other bush creature came out to eat the rubbish. But that's Australia for you. Number 5, nightlife. If you're still young at heart and you crave a little bit of nightlife, here's where you need to go. In Sydney, Newtown is a popular hangout spot for all the young people. Less prim and proper than Circular Quay, but you'll have a great time. In Melbourne, I suppose the nightlife is a bit more scattered, but King Street is a popular destination. Peel Street also has a lot of places open till late. Now Brisbane, or Bris Vegas, is on a whole nother level. And the place you would want to go is Fortitude Valley. I've never seen so many people just out and about and having a great time. I think for nightlife, out of all the cities, Brisbane definitely takes the cake. If you're looking for places that cater more for the LGBTQ+ community, then here's where you need to go. In Sydney, you would want to explore Oxford Street, lots of entertainment there, places like Universal and Poof Doof. It really is world-class entertainment. In Melbourne, you'd probably enjoy Collingwood, plenty of places there, and in Brisbane, it would be the Beat Mega Club. It's like 6 places all in one, really cool. Now, onto the topic of Bris Vegas. Yes, it is a wild party place, but the bouncers there do not take nonsense. When you go into a club, they ask you not just for your driver's license, but they take photos of you and they update your profile onto like some system. It's a network that all those bars and clubs in that area all have access to. So if you go into one bar or one club and you cause a bit of trouble and the bouncer kicks you out, you can't just be like, screw this place, man. Hey, this is a cool place, let's go in here. Oh, no. You will come up right away as flagged on their system and you won't be allowed in. So just be careful if you want to go partying in Brisbane. Don't cause any nonsense because you only got one chance. Number 6, other interesting places. When we were in Melbourne, we decided to visit a little place in the east called Frankston. I saw this cool kid on YouTube saying, I own Frankston, I own Frankston. He looked very intimidating and I hoped not to bump into the guy. So we went to Frankston to check it out. Is it really as hectic as it is on social media? We were on the train and the kids behind us were using a very advanced vocabulary for that age. And then we decided we had seen enough of Frankston. Tapped off the train with my card against the machine that I can see had a bit of a rough day. I don't know, maybe Frankston's not for everybody. Maybe you like it. Check it out and let me know. Number 7, food. If you're visiting Australia, you'll still need to eat, right? If you want to buy really good, healthy food, there's still a Woolworths. You'll find one nearby. If you're on a slightly more tight budget, then Coles might be also a good option to consider. Supermarkets work differently in Australia compared to back in South Africa. You don't have a cashier that rings things up. You have to ring up your own things. You would think that's a bit of a trust system. It is, but there's cameras everywhere and that system is actually very intelligent. It'll make sure that you ring up everything correctly. The beef in Australia is actually quite nice. The pork also tastes really good there. It's not funny or different or anything. Pork is the same. We were in Sydney and it was late at night. We were hungry. We went out looking for a place to grab something to eat. We looked at the menus posted in the windows of the restaurants. We saw some weird and wonderful items like snake beans with black octopus and kangaroo skewers. And we were like, so we just went to go get something a bit more continental. They have McDonald's there, just like South Africa. They have Burger King there as well, just like in South Africa, only they call it Hungry Jack's. It's the same thing. Okay, number 8, kangaroos. We couldn't have a video about Australia without talking about roos. Of course, you don't just see kangaroos when you land at the airport. See, that's what the airport looks like, no kangaroos jumping about. But the good news is, if you want to see a roo, just head a little bit out of the city, out into the outskirts, and you will find a kangaroo sanctuary where you can pay to have a roo encounter. They actually give you like kangaroo food, and it's like these pellets, and then the kangaroo comes and eats out of your hand, and it's like, oh, this is so cute. You'll also find koalas in the sanctuary, reptiles in the sanctuary. Oh, did you like and subscribe yet? Hope so. Number 9, people. Australians are very sociable people in general. They're always out and about, a lot of them walking around the street. They don't lock themselves indoors like some other parts of the world. I was staying at this hotel in Australia and I went to walk around the swimming pool area of the hotel. Next thing, this Australian man emerges. Like, I was like, oh, sorry, I was just checking out the pool. And he was like, yeah, no worries, yeah, hey mate, hey. And he just started having this random conversation with me who he had never met. Yeah, I like to swim a lot because it gets my blood flowing and it helps me in the bedroom with the lady. And I was like, okay, good for you. Anyway, I should probably be going. And then he carries on like, yeah, like I've got like some kids, but one of them I adopted because he had nowhere to go and I just took him in. I'm like, you know what, this guy's actually quite cool. He just wears his heart on his sleeve and just is so ready to have a conversation with a stranger, and he's just so down to earth and so cool. Not all Australians are like that, but that was one pretty cool guy. And I met a lot of really cool Australian people. Number 10, Aussie Rules Rugby. So they love rugby so much in Australia that they decided to make their own version of the game. Aussie Rules Rugby, the field is not rectangular, it's oval, and there are 4 poles each side, not 2, and there are like 18 players on the field all at once. Really fascinating to watch. Number 11, cars. So we have a lot of the same cars in Australia than we do in South Africa. We don't have as much cheap Japanese imports like here in New Zealand. We have this large ship that arrives in the harbour all the time with cheap Japanese imports. Nissans, Toyotas, Hondas. In Australia, they don't have that part of the market going. But there also are lots of Japanese cars there. They have lots of Holdens. They don't have so many EVs. Lots of electric vehicles here in New Zealand, possibly because it's a smaller distance to get around and maybe people are more, green here. Whereas in Australia, EVs aren't that popular. In Brisbane, I saw a Tesla graveyard. All these brand new Teslas just standing there. Not sure if they can't sell them. I like Teslas, but I wonder what's happening in Australia. If you're an Australian and you have more info, please let me know in the comments. Number 12, e-scooters. So in Australia, you get these cool things called e-scooters. You just pick one up anywhere, you find it around the city, you tap your phone, the thing loads and off you go. You can just drive it anywhere and throw it anywhere for the next person, deducts money off your account. When we were there were e-scooters in Melbourne and Brisbane, I think. I think Sydney had banned them at that point, but maybe if you're lucky, you will still see some e-scooters if you come and visit there. Number 13, snakes. Luckily, I didn't encounter a snake when I was there, only in the snake sanctuary, but everyone I've spoken to who lives in Australia has seen a snake at least once. It's warm and the perfect weather for snakes. I even saw a snake warning at a train station in Brisbane. Luckily, here in New Zealand, where I currently am, there are no snakes. No snakes in New Zealand. How cool is that? Okay, number 14, liquor and cigarettes. For a box of smokes, expect to pay anything between 300 Rand to 400 Rand. Plus they've got these graphic images on the cover to try and deter you from ever smoking. Also, you can't vape in Australia. It's illegal. I'm not saying no one vapes in Australia, I'm just saying for the record it's illegal. So you can smoke in Australia, you can't vape. If you go to Australia and you want to drink, liquor is incredibly expensive, especially with rands. If you like brandy, you will battle to find it. And number 15, tomatoes. Huh? Tomatoes? Yes, tomatoes. Why am I making a point about tomatoes? I don't know, you tell me. The whole internet is obsessed with tomatoes. Let's talk about tomatoes. Alright, I'm just gonna lay it out for you. South Africa, 3 Rand a tomato. Australia, 11 Rand a tomato at Woolworths. In New Zealand, 10 Rand a tomato in summer and 19 Rand a tomato in winter. There it is. Truss tomatoes are also the most expensive ones. They sell them here in New Zealand. Don't know why they're called truss tomatoes. Maybe you need a trust fund to afford one. New Zealand's tomatoes might be pricey, but we got other nice things here in New Zealand. Okay, just to end this off, can I just compare Australia to New Zealand here? Would you like me to do that? Let's look at a train station in Australia versus a train station in New Zealand. Look at these little rubber pad things they put on the platforms. This is a typical one in Australia, not the greatest. Here's a typical one in New Zealand. Which one do you like more? You decide. I kind of prefer New Zealand to Australia. It's calm, it's relaxed, it's chilled, and it's not sizzling hot. Anyway, thanks for watching. Now you have a little bit more insight into what to expect if you want to visit Australia. Please feel free to check out my other videos. Thanks for watching my Australian video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you real soon.